Hello. Hello. Nice to see you, nice. Just let me open Skype, everything else is done. We are on course. So welcome to the talk. So if this is the first time that you've ever been to or tuned in, sometimes people write to me and ask me how it happens or how it works, is that every Sunday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. French time, I do live talks and I do it on my YouTube channel. But most people watch it, the recorded version of it. So I can understand it's confusing. Like sometimes you think it's the live version, but it's actually a recorded version. So you have to tune in. It's live on YouTube. You can just go to my YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, then and you have your notifications on, then you'll get an email when I go live. You can also find all this information in the box below. There is a link to my website where it explains this. You can also friend me on Skype. And my Skype address is Cairns12, and then you're welcome to ask questions. You can either write questions or you can call in. If you call in, you need a headset with a microphone so it doesn't echo or there's no feedback. Yes. Today's talk is called, let me just get up the link again because I've forgotten what it's called. It's called, Do Problems Actually Exist? There should be a question there at the end of it. Yes. So first of all, I like to do some silence so we can just sit together in silence. And you don't have to do anything. Like, I think it's nice if you don't go on the internet and browse the internet looking for some new information or something. You just sit here silently, like we're always doing something. I always do this before talks, even when I'm in live talks. I'm like, let's just have some silence. And my intention for this talk, I've realized that it helps me if I put an intention out to stay focused. So my intention today is to speak about that which I love. That's nice. I have to get my pull up my computer. Hello. Maybe that was a little weird sound, me doing that up for you. So, very important subject. I've forgotten what the title of the talk is. Do problems actually exist? Interesting subject, Lisa. Interesting subject. It's close to my mouth. So in this moment, all there is innocence. Like total innocence. There's not good or bad or right or wrong, or up and down or left or right or past or future, or judgment or no judgment, tall or short. In this moment, there's only what's happening. And what's happening is free. It's not contained in any idea. It's simply what's happening. It's not you and me talking. It's not something that's likable or not likable. It's simply what's happening. All there is this moment. And then in this moment, what arises is thoughts about what's good, what's bad, what you like, what you don't like, what you're going to do, what you don't do, images. And what happens in the human world is there's an attachment to those thoughts. And there's an identification with those thoughts. And it becomes an energetic experience. You begin to believe that who you are is someone in time, that you're a doer that's moving through time, that you've arrived now in this room. In half an hour, you're going to leave from this room, and that you're someone that's good or bad, that's stressed or not stressed, that's got to do things or not do things, that's beautiful or ugly. And you have this image of yourself as well as this feeling of yourself. And then you begin to feel that you're someone once removed looking through these eyes. You're someone watching yourself looking through these eyes. Whereas who you are before all of that began, like when you were 1 or 2 or 3 or before that life, or in all innocence, there's just this moment. Just what's happening right here, right now. Nothing more. And right now, you don't have a problem. You're not in debt. You're not a bad person. You've not been left by your lover. You're not lonely or poor or rich or too rich, don't know what to do with their money, stressed, too many work things to do, too much jobs to do, made mistakes, made wrong choices, done bad things. You're not any of that. You're just right here, this moment. And this moment is innocence. And that's what you've looked for your whole life, is innocence. You're attracted to it in books or films or kids or animals, this innocence. Maybe you're attracted to it in non-duality teachers, or in this teaching, or in spirituality, or in magic. Always looking for this innocence. But this innocence is who you are. It's what's experiencing now. And everyone's this innocence. All those people that you hate or dislike or have hurt you, everybody is the same innocence. It's the birthright. Just this moment, this silence experiencing itself. This stillness. It's so wide awake and in love with itself and knowing itself and intimate with itself. So the question originally is, do you have any problems? And the answer on the ultimate level is no. Right here, right now, where are your problems? There's nothing wrong right here. There is this alive presence that's so excited to be here, that's in love with itself, that's contented just to be experiencing itself. So right here, there are no problems. There's only what's happening. Your essence doesn't have a problem. Your essence doesn't see problems or no problems or good or bad or what has and hasn't happened. All of that belongs in the human world. Right here, it doesn't exist. There's just presence. It's free. It's alive. It's radical. The problem comes when you think about things, and there's nothing wrong with thinking about things. That's part of what our mind does. When we descended from the trees and lived on the plains, on the flat ground, we had to become incredibly good at fixing problems. When we were apes, we could protect ourselves by swinging from trees to trees, and we ate what was in the tree. Like getting our food wasn't that complex. But when we descended from the trees and began to live on the flat ground, our survival became a lot more complex. We had predators suddenly, like lots of predators, and we had to hunt for our food. So we had to develop this ability to think about problems and how to solve them. And that's what made us humans, this ability to think. But thinking isn't who you are, and thinking isn't your reality. Thinking is something that happens inside the brain in order to prove your survival. But most people in this planet, they believe who they are is a thought, and they're constantly identified with this belief that I am the body and that I'm someone moving in time, and then they're always trying to fix the problem of you. Where there is no you, there is no somebody that exists inside the body. All of that's conceptual. There is only what's happening. You made up the story of you, and you're making up your problems. There appears to be things you have to navigate, just as if like millions of years ago when you descended from the trees. When our ancestors descended from the trees, we had to work out how to stop predators eating us in order to survive. We had to maybe work out safety, like a safe environment for us to sleep. And you could say those in a way are problems, but they're also not. They're just what's happening. But what we do now is that we believe that we are someone, that we've got a life that we own, and that we've got to fix the problem of ourselves. The problem of ourself. Who you are isn't a thought, who you are is this moment. And life is going to be the way it's going to be, it's a happening. And you can invest time in fixing those problems mentally, but most people are constantly living in a problem of themselves and their life. Where there is no you and there is no your life. There's only what's happening. Do you think there's a you and their life to the gorilla in the tree? Or actually, maybe they roam on the floor. To the chimps in the tree, or to the dog, or the cats, or the birds. They don't have their life. There's just what's happening. They're just experiencing what's happening. Just this moment. It's a happening. And it's so beautiful and wonderful, and it's self-conscious. The idea that consciousness inside the brain is simply an idea. Life is conscious of itself, all of it. Consciousness isn't generated inside the brain, it's generated inside of matter. Inside of all of matter, inside of everything. Your consciousness isn't divided from anything. And that's your actual experience. Your actual experience isn't the consciousness inside your head. Your actual experience is that everything appears inside consciousness. Is there anything that appears outside of your consciousness? Only imagination. Your experience always is everything is inside your consciousness. Maybe I take some questions now. Hello, people on Skype. Hello, Chase. The problems are only present for a short while, so no, they don't exist. Nice topic for the stream, thanks. Hey, Chase, thanks for your comment. Martin, hey, Lisa, I have a question. If I rest my attention in the body, what's going to guide me? Does deeper intelligence of consciousness guide me from the beingness? Yeah. Like sometimes you use your mind, the mind is a tool, but what most people do is they're constantly just in the mind, interpreting what's happening and thinking about what's coming next. Whereas there's this vast intelligence in the body. And really the body and the world are one and the same thing. Like your sensory perception is everything that's happening. You never step outside of your sensory perception. So you could say sensory perception is the world. So resting more in the body, you could say life guides you, that the divine guides you. It divides you when you're totally locked in the mind, but when you're totally locked in the mind, you seemingly, you think that it's you that's guiding you, and you have this imagination of you that's always telling you what you should and shouldn't do, like, be careful when you do that. If you do that, you're a very bad boy. If you do that, you're a very good girl. Bad boy, good girl. Funny, isn't it, that good g and girl and b and bad boy. Bad girl, good boy. And that's all taught. So that's taught to you from your past, from your parents, from your society, from your genetics. Maybe not your genetics. Maybe your genetics is having some form of influence. And then there is this other intelligence of the body, which is also informed by its social interactions, but it's different from the intellectual interaction. It's more responding in the moment, responding to what's actually happening rather than your story or interpretation of what's happening. It's more visceral and intimate and immediate. So you could say in that life is guiding you. Like action is spontaneously arising. It all contradicts itself in the end. Because you could also say that action is seemingly an effect from everything else that's come before. Like it all contradicts in the end. Hi Angie. Agnes, not Angie. Hi Agnes, welcome. Hi Lisa, good to see you. Hey Thomas, nice to see you or hear you. I see your picture, so I could say see you. Hello dear Lisa, nice to see you again. Hi Simin, nice to see you. Hi Dennis. Hi Lisa, greeting from Studio 22, a brand new prayer space in Kentucky, USA. Hello. Hi Martin. Hi Lisa. Thank you for your beautiful sharings. Greeting from Warsaw. Hi Merrick. I'm Merrick. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Hi Praveen. Hi Lisa. There is worry that if I get too much into this moment, I won't take actions that is necessary for life, or that I would become lazy. If this moment is perfect, then what's the point of doing anything? That's very conceptual, and that implies that your whole life you've been doing things because of intellectual motivation. Our body's naturally wired to do things. When you're hungry, you'll eat or hunt, go out and get food. And your body doesn't want to lay on the sofa all day. It gets tiresome to do that. Your body gets sore from doing that. Your body wants to actually participate. But at the moment, more than likely, your participation in life is a very mental idea. You have to do things because of this and that and this and that. Thank you for your question. Hi, Carmela. Thank you, Lisa. Oh, thanks, Carmela. Hi, Derek. Or, as I once heard, what is the deeper teaching in Buddhism? No self, no problem. Beautiful. Beautifully succinct. Yeah. Hi, Tim. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so very much for being with us again today. I love your sweater. Is it a sweater? In terms of the ultimate non-existence of problems, how do we connect with our words, traumas, and resolving? I'm just looking for my glasses. Okay, let me come closer. How do we connect with our wounds, traumas, and resulting unhealthy behaviors then? Does awakening to our true nature pull the plug on codependence and unhealthy dependence? Meaning, does it begin to naturally drain these out of the body-mind? Does it pull the plug on abandonment wounds and issues? I personally have a lot of unmourned grief, abandonment wounds and trauma, which all can lead to codependence and unhealthy attachment for me. And these do feel like problems. I'm working on them in different ways, but I have to admit I have what is maybe a separate self-fantasy that waking up will start to flush a lot of wounds out of the body-mind and resolve my so-called problems. Thank you so much, love. Hi, Tim, who is a hibiscus, I think. I can't quite see it, it's a bit blurry. Hibiscus. No, that's not hibiscus, that is... I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, I think to an extent, non-duality does heal the person with its teachings to an extent. When there's this energetic shift, a lot of stuff falls away. But there's also lots of other therapeutic processes out there which are really helpful for getting into those types of dynamics and steering the ship in a different direction. My favourite way of working with unresolved traumas, and it's something that, you know, it's part of being a body mind, like having traumas in the body mind. But my favourite way of working with it is working with the chakra system. So, for example, just beginning to understand and see what you're doing, but also know that this is just part of the setup of being a human, that we all have these dynamics going on, and a lot of our dynamics will, for the rest of our life, remain unconscious to us. We don't know that we're doing them. And the first thing to change is seeing that you're doing it. So that's really amazing, Tim, that you've seen that you have codependency. So acknowledging that, and it's not you, it's a habit of the body. It's something you were taught, and it was something that maybe your parents experienced as well. So acknowledging that, and then trying to relate it to where you feel it in the body. And the reason I think this is really important is because most of the time, most people are just in their mental interpretation of what's happening, and they don't know what else is going on. So when they feel angry, they're just connected to what they feel angry about in their head. So they're simply inside their mind, and they're connected to the story of what made them angry, rather than the actual sensation of being angry. And that can make things really intense. That can make you go and attack people verbally, or do stupid things, or be self-destructive. So, and ironically, someone can be furious, like really angry about something, and they can't register that they're angry. This is really bizarre, but we've all done it. So you could be really angry about something, but you don't know it. So if someone asked you, you would deny it. You haven't got any conscious acknowledgement of it. And that's because you're in your story. So to you, you're focused on that which has made you angry. Even though you can't see you're angry, you're just fixated on the object that's hurt you. So no, I'm not angry, but look at the mess in this house, or whatever it is. So the next thing after you recognize a pattern is, where do you feel these things in your body? So where is it that you feel this codependency in your body, this lack of love or this abandonment? I would suggest more than likely it will be the heart chakra. But it could be connected to all the chakras, and it could be because you've got weak lower chakras, you don't feel safe, so fear comes up, so then that makes you dependent on love. So what does that feel like? So when you begin to feel abandoned by someone, like rather than reacting and then suddenly like pointing the finger or shouting, like what does it feel like? So maybe at first feels like anger, and then behind that it feels like vulnerability or weakness or softness or fear. Could be a variety of things. So then just exploring what that feeling is. Then my next move, so I'm giving away all my tricks of my trade. None of you need one-to-one sessions now. I'm just giving it away. And you can do it yourself. So the next stage then is then connecting it to your life. So then you feel this feeling in your body and you become aware of it. And then when do you act that out in your life? Like when have you acted it out? Like with past girlfriends or boyfriends, with your parents, with friends, with animals maybe? Like when has that led you to behave in certain ways, and what type of behaviors does it lead to? So then maybe you acknowledge that it's happened in relationships, and you have all these stories around relationships and women always abandoning you or something, and that's now led to a lot of fear, and your parents didn't give you much attention as a child, etc. And so then you acknowledge these situations, and then you want to try to put it in the positive. So put the feeling in the positive. So then what you do is what does that feeling want? What does that abandonment want? So it might want love. So then you imagine someone in your life, or maybe a famous person, or someone coming in and giving you what it is that feeling wants, like love and security and safety. And you let that positivity of that image, and you really go into the detail of it, like fill your body with positivity. And it might take time, because at first the feeling is too intense. So it may take time of sitting through it, but then begin to bring in this image of positivity. Like, so maybe it's like an aunt when you were growing up, that she gave you intention, that she took you away from your parents, that she hugged you or she loved you. And just feeling that, like, what did she do when she took you away? Like, how did she speak to you? What did her hand feel like? What did it feel like to feel loved? Did she talk nicely about you? So using an image to help change it into the positive. And to change it into the positive, you have to really understand what it is you want. So if it's feeling abandoned, what you want is to feel loved and included and safe. So just really seeing that and really allowing that image to bring in positivity. And then when your body's feeling more positive and more stable, then you can begin to see that who you are is this moment, that all of this imagery, all of these stories aren't who you are, that your nature as this is alive and free and present. And what you've actually done is you've played out both sides of the story in your imagination. You've created the hell and you've created the resolution. And in becoming in that more positive energy, you see that actually what you've always wanted is this moment, that as the energy picks up and feels more positive, it's not so much the positive feelings that you're enjoying, it's this coming home, the realizing that here you are, this is it. There is this consciousness right here that's present and alive and free. And that's all you've ever wanted. So that's my way of, that's the way that I work with people one-to-one in sessions. I mean, I work differently dependent on the person I'm with, but that's generally what I'm trying to get people to do for themselves, and seeing that they created the problem and they're also the solution to the problem. And then also, in all of that movement of the problem and then the solution, there is this isness that's here in it all, this empty looking that's so free. And then just another thing that I try to make clear in my sessions as well with people is that even though it feels like you're doing that process, and it feels like I'm individually telling you you can do something and that you've got to do something to change your life, know that all of that is a description of what could happen. It's not actually a prescription, because ultimately there is no me or you that could act separately and that could choose to do something. The impulses in Tim to do that and the ability to do that is down to grace. It's down to this moment, whether or not that arises. Like, I can't force you to do it. It's something that will arise or won't arise. It might feel like it's like, oh, I listened to Lisa and she told me how to do this and to do that, and now I'm going to do it. So there's a voice that's saying that you're going to do it. But notice that voice isn't who you are. That voice is an appearance in who you are. And that functioning, all of that happening, the going into the negative and the positive, isn't who you are. Who you are is this moment that's playing in you, but you get so involved in like the negative. When you get into the positive, the seeking drops, and then it's easier to see that who you are is this moment. So that is my recommendation. Tim, thank you for your question, Tim. I'm Merrick. Hi. Hi, I'm Merrick. I have a question. I fell into non-duality 2 years ago, and since then, all my belief systems, including a very materialistic view of life with objective goals to reach in the future, have collapsed. It has first been a relief coming with glimpses of truth, but has now evolved into stuckness with no more energy in life. It seems that fear was previously fueling my body-mind with energy and motivation, and now that I do not believe too much in that fear, I have no direction. I use breathing techniques from pranayama to help my body to recalibrate, and I can feel huge tension in the left nostril and my throat, such as they provoke teeth chattering. Wow, that's quite intense. Would you have any piece of advice to help me finding a new direction and a true expression of my being? Thank you, Lisa, for my Franglish. Franglish. Are you French, Martin? Martin? I know. You're from the US. The USA. Franglish. They say that the falling in love chemicals, when two people fall in love, they're like most intense in the first 2 years. And the reason that is because that's the time normally where you'll make a commitment to each other and create children together. So it's most intense in the first 2 years. So it doesn't surprise me that after 2 years, the love affair lessened with non-duality. Like at first, when you get into it, it's like a new story. It's something that is breaking down your beliefs and changing you. And then after 2 years, then you're like, what next? What's going to happen now? Still this. That's the joke of it. It's still this. It's still this. And I think this is a very typical problem that happens, is that you begin to break down your ideas and beliefs, and then the mind then thinks, so once you've completed that, or once that's begin to change, the mind then thinks, now what do I do? And basically what you have to do with this life is you have to, your setup is to simply survive. That's it. That's all you have to do, is just survive. So just get enough food, enough water, enough shelter in order to survive. I know that sounds really like boring. But that's all you have to do. When you were growing up though, you know, even though people were insinuating you have to survive, you know, like become a doctor or get a really good job or like get lots of money, like they were also talking about this big story of you, you know, having meaning, having purpose and enjoyment and future and kids and changing the world and big dramatic things. And you watch films, you listen to stories where people had this motive and purpose in life. And so then when you begin to go through this process, the idea of simply living and simply surviving is like, Lisa, life is so much more than that. I can tell you, it's not about survival. It's about saving the planet, going up to Mars, exploring the universe, working out the nature of reality. Whereas actually on the human level, it's just the body wants to survive, just like the tree wants to survive, just like the dogs want to survive. It's very simple, really. It's just this survival. And your actual peace, your freedom, doesn't come from what you do to survive. Your freedom comes from being connected to who you are, and that's all your motive for life. But prior to getting into this subject, your motivation came from something intellectual. Whereas if you go and drop more into the body, you'll notice that the body's got a natural inclination to survive. It might not be very strong, but to work, to do something, to do daily things, to feed itself, to clean. But it's naturally there. And there's nothing wrong with it being super simple. It doesn't have to be really complex or really dramatic. So that's that on that side of things. And I don't think that the human is designed to wake up as such, but because of the suffering, it has to wake up to itself. So some teachers say that, you know, we're put on this planet to wake up to ourselves. And I think, I mean, that's a nice story and I'm not opposed to it, and maybe, but I think it's more that we had to, like, we went off on this path where we began to believe that we were a story other than our true nature, which is this moment. And then society is suffering terribly, I think. And so then people have to wake up to remember who they are, because society is in such a bad state from this illusion. And I personally, I mean, I'm open to that story that consciousness is doing it on purpose, but I think that consciousness is more free than that it's not consciously creating, it's spontaneously creating. And it just so happens that this human began to deeply suffer. But for other people, I sometimes say, because it's also a really nice teaching, this idea that like you're here to wake up to yourself. Like in some way that is the purpose of life. Like I can also say that too. It's beautiful. Total contradiction. All in one little speech. Anyway, so use, and I have tension in my nostril and throat and provides chattering teeth. So I would assume that if the teeth are chattering, then you're experiencing fear or panic, or you might have some like past trauma in your body that was scary to you. And the breathing's bringing that up. And you have to go deep into the feeling to try to understand what's happening. So when you're doing the breathing, I would put your attention into your belly. Because that's more than likely where fear is. Just be curious about what's happening. And at the same time, know that nothing's happening. There is only this moment. There's only this. There's not really somebody who's practicing breathing techniques or waking up or going down a path of enlightenment. There is only this moment right here, right now, in everything that you do. Hi Praveen. Hi Lisa. I have another question. You said world is within my sensory perception. Does it mean that we see and touch may not exist at all? Also, who determines what we perceive at any particular moment? The world seems logical, so maybe the world actually does exist. Yeah, nothing is solid. We think it's solid. And this is what science is kind of saying to us, that or quantum physics is saying to us, is that life isn't the way it appears to be, that matter is determined by that which looks at it. That matter isn't fixed. So I suspect what's happening is everyone's walking around in their own particular bubble of what they're seeing. So I would say the creator is life, and then it's creating through this person, and then this person is seeing what it's conditioned and its genetic makeup. So it's seeing what it's conditioned to believe and what its specific genetic makeup believes the world should be. So you're seeing what you've been trained and what your genetics allow you to see. And that's something. And then everybody's in their own world, and we kind of meet, because more than likely, like, stories have similarities. It's really magical, though. It means that nothing out there exists. Your kids, your wife, nothing. It's all illusion. What actually exists is what's happening. And when they come into your reality, they're an aspect of your mind. It's quite scary, isn't it? All those people that you've been like, bad, 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 it's an aspect of your mind. Yep. Bub, bub. Bub, 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 bub. I can't do it there. I can only do it with one. Da, 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 da. Thank you for your question. Hey, AR. Hello. Can you please talk about past lives? Thank you. Sure, AR. So to me, I don't think that there is solid people that go from life to life to life, but I'm not opposed to that being the way it is. Like, there could be this kind of appearance of a soul which goes from life to life to life. The ultimate truth is that everything that's experienced is one energy. It's one energy experiencing itself. But in that dream, why not have a character that keeps recurring in different bodies, like a bundle of energy? For me, the way that I feel like it is the way I was trained in Buddhism, whereas it's energies, habits and behaviors get reborn, but not a solid entity. There is no solid entity. And even with these souls, I still don't feel like these souls, if there were many lives, I still don't feel these souls are a solid entity. They're an accumulation of energy which seems to be sticking together and repeating itself, but it's not a somebody. It's being experienced. But I'm really not opposed to that either way. To me, Lisa, what's being said or what's coming out of this mouth now, but currently what Lisa or me believes is that when I die, my energy on Lisa level, on the character level, goes back into everything and gets muddled up with everything else. And then new life is formed and life is looked at from different angles. So that's my feeling on it. Thank you, AR. Hello, lovely Lisa. These talks are mesmerizing. Hi, Sergi. Well, thank you. I don't know whether to say thank you to that or not. I'm not always great with compliments. That I'm happy that they're resonating with you. That's very touching. Hello, Jordan. Hello, Lisa. Thank you for the talk. With pleasure, Jordan. Tim. Thank you, Lisa. You're such a blessing. Deepest gratitude. With pleasure, Tim. Hi, Angie. Ciao, Lisa. I'm giving free somatic experiencing sessions for a while, just in case if Tim would like to have some sessions. It's trauma therapy from including the body. It works over Skype. And when are you coming to Berlin? Much love. Oops, including. Yeah. Or for anybody else. Oh, thanks, Angie. I will just give him your email now. I'll forget if I don't do it now. Boop, boop, boop. Where is Tim? Somatic therapy. I'm not sure what that is, but I think it's very bodily. It's bodily therapy. Free somatic experiencing sessions. Johanna. Hi, Lisa. I love you, Johanna from Vancouver. Hey, Johanna. So precious advice. Thank you. Franglish. Yeah, I thought you meant Franglish. Hi, Nick. Beautiful talk today. Thank you. Very nice, the not sweater thing. More sincerity, could you please say something about letting go? The character seems to want to cling to things in the flow, emotions, ideas, thoughts, even when it's so clear there's no substance to these things, like right or wrong. On one hand, it doesn't matter, and all this is perfect just the way it is, and yet the fingers are typing out the question. Sure, Nick, about letting go. I always think that letting go and giving are the same thing. Like giving everything back. So giving everything back. That they're one and the same thing. Like in the end, the ultimate giving back is giving back the body. Like we boil these sacks of water, bone, blood, and skin. And then ultimately we give that back. But I get the sense that when you're speaking about anger that arises. Just contemplate the idea of letting go of even being angry. So it's not letting go of the anger, but letting go of even the resistance of the anger. And the same with the thinking. It comes up and it goes. And we don't want it to be there. We don't want the chatter or the mental discomfort to be there about what someone's done or not done. Just seeing it as a play, that it happens. Like everything comes and goes and comes and goes. And nothing belongs to you, not even the anger, not even the angry thoughts or the angry ideas or the experiences or the holding on to them. All of it's in this emptiness, this vastness. Nothing really matters. Thank you for your question, Nick. Hi, Praveen. Hi, Lisa. A follow-up question. If bodies want to do things, how does it know what is right action and what is wrong action? Most of it, I presume, is taught, and some of it's genetic. But that's working on the unconscious a lot. Like, so when you go into work and you all share a fridge for food, but you don't even really have to think about not taking anyone's food. It's just unconsciously happening that you're not eating their food. Like, once happened to be at university that I used to live in dormitories, and I used to steal people's food sometimes. I used to replace it after I'd done it, but you know, sometimes when you came in drunk or just hungry, not even drunk and greedy, and sometimes I would pinch their food, and I would replace it after I pinched it, but sometimes I would pinch it if you've run out of something. And then one day somebody put laxatives in something that I pinched. I didn't do it like excessively, but I was off in my car to go to my drum lessons, and if you've ever lived in London or been to London, you'll know the traffic is really bad. And I was coming back from the drum lesson at about like 5 or 6 in the evening when it's rush hour, and suddenly the laxative kicked in, and I had the most insane desire or need to go to the toilet, but there was nowhere I could go. I was in a city, there was no public toilets anywhere, and I was in my car stuck in traffic jam. And intuitively, all of us know that we don't pinch other people's food. I never pinched food after that again. Never, I don't think. I mean, I sometimes pinch my partner's food and things, but never like that. And when I lived with people, I didn't take other people's food after that at all. And we just kind of intuitively know that that's not the right thing to do, and that it's not the right thing to go along the road and shout in someone's face, or to hit them in the balls, or do something like that, or to poo in the middle of the street. And that's most probably taught, but you don't do it. Like, it's not like you have to have a constant commentator telling us, don't poo in the street now, don't poo in the street. I mean, maybe you had to when I was in my car, and like I had to have my brain being like, don't poo in the car, don't poo in the car or the street. But most of the time we don't have to be saying that. Don't abuse this person, or don't walk into the door. It's naturally happening. The body kind of unconsciously knows it. The same when you like play a musical instrument, you like do it enough and then the body just kind of does it. And this is what our conscious mind is doing, is it's teaching us new unconscious things. So when you learn to drive, at first you have to consciously, like you have to put your attention there to learn to drive, and then eventually it becomes an unconscious thing. The body can just do it. And that's why we need the conscious mind. The conscious mind is constantly updating the unconscious. And what happens a lot when people are identified is they're constantly in this conscious mind, thinking about themselves and who they need to be and what it looks like to other people. And really what needs to happen more and more is surrendering to letting the body take over, and that unconscious knowing of how to act to take over, and trusting that it will take over. And we need to recondition it. Like sometimes we get wrong conditioning in there and it needs to be conditioned. But really what non-duality is sinking into the body and letting the body act, and then seeing that the body and the world are one. So really who it is life is acting. Life is acting. Then what is liberation from the cycle of birth and death? These are very like Indian ideas. Like to me, it's not so much about actually physically dying. It's right now seeing who you truly are, which never born and never dies. So it's not so much about not coming back in next lives, which is what is often in the Indian tradition. It's more seeing that there was never anyone in this life, and that's the liberation. Seeing that there is nobody experiencing, there is life experiencing itself, and there's never been anyone. And to me, that would be my interpretation of stepping out of the cycle of birth and death. Thank you for your question, R-A-A-R-N-G. Thank you. Oh, that's all the questions. I did it! Je suis le faire. Oh, I don't know. I'm hopeless at French. Je suis le faire. Je fais. No, just. No, I forgot. I can't say it. I'm a koala. I'm not in a jumper, I'm in a koala suit. Yeah, da-da-da! Yeah! I'm not in a jumper. I'm a koala. With pleasure, A-R. je suis le fait. Je le fais. I did it. Je le fais. Okay, not je suis. Je le fais. I was right. It was did it is fait. I was kind of getting there. So cute. I often go to see a woman named Mother Mira. She gives darshan to a lot of people. Could you talk about darshan if you had any experience of it? Mother Mira. Yeah, I don't know so much about these things. If it feels nice energetically, then go for it. You have all the stories around it and people tell you this and that, but what it comes down to is energetically there is a resonance there that's really beautiful if something opens you up. Okay, Lisa, thank you for this sharing. Hi, Simin, love you too. That's sweet. Thank you for sharing. Earlier, you said the biggest let go lesson is with the body. Doesn't this create a separation and also identity with the me who's letting go of the body? That's not me. AR. I've got another AR on here as well. That's funny. 2 ARs. What are the chances? They both call themselves AR. Yeah, that creates those types of ideas. There's somebody that has to let go of the body. There's someone that has to give. I wouldn't get too caught up on the words. It's more about resonating with this subject more than getting the ideal words or vocabulary. But sometimes what happens is that you go through a phase of wanting to get it very correct conceptually. And that's also really helpful. Okay, well, that's enough. No more questions. Joe. Hi, Lisa. Do you feel that the need to eat and survive forces you to submerge into a person outside of what you feel naturally, i.e., when you enjoy the silent space before talking? Pardon me. I feel like there needs to be an appearance of a person in order to survive. So that for me, there is the appearance of Lisa that comes and goes. And if that wasn't present, then this body wouldn't function. So I feel like there needs to be that. Can you imagine seeing this world beyond anything you've been taught about it. What would this world look like if you didn't know about society or people or language or others? What would it look like? Okay. Oh, and there was something else that someone wrote to me about, and I thought I must clarify this, but I maybe have clarified it as well. About that I have no desire. Somebody wrote to me very little bit annoyed that I said I have no desire to talk about this, and then I spend 4 hours a week talking about this on YouTube. And I meant outside of that in my regular life, like not in teaching. And like, so outside, I don't have any desire to talk about it with people in my town or in my vicinity. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's arrogant of me to assume that if I stopped teaching, that I wouldn't feel an urge to talk about it. Maybe I would. Maybe it gets all drowned out from these talks. But the feeling is when I'm in my day-to-day life, it just doesn't come to speak about. But who knows? Okay. Thank you. I don't know what day is today. It's Sunday, so I shall see you again on Wednesday on 6 p.m. French time. Oh yes, and for people that have been asking me, I've just started advertising the Spanish retreat, which will be in May, the 23rd to the 30th of May. And you're welcome to join in the south of Spain. Thanks, guys. Goodbye. Goodbye from Koala. I have to put my head up to shut it down. Didn't work. Goodbye from Koala.